Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everybody. We are live for Coffee with Tina. Happy Saturday. We're at the end of August. I do not know where time goes. Good morning, Gigi from Baltimore. I don't know where time goes. I don't know where the pandemic brain or time is so much different than normal time. It's just so weird. You would think, well, I can't speak for everybody else. Hey, Kelly from Washington. I don't know what, I have comments coming up in two places. There we go. Good morning, Jessica, Jenny, everybody. Flora Rodriguez, good morning from Illinois. I am from Illinois. I was born in Joliet. It's a prison town. Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Good morning, Jen. Anyway, I was saying, I don't know where time goes. You would think, I don't know, I'm not running around. I'm not going from event to event or appointments. Everything is live. Everything's on Zoom. Everything is in pajamas for the most part. So you would think I would have all kinds of time. Good morning, Randy, Renee, New Hampshire, Sarah. Shout out to all you single parents because Glenn has been gone for the past week. He went once a year or so. He goes backpacking and just goes off the grid for a full week. And it was long overdue. He really needed it. And, but wow, I forget what it's like to be a single mom. And so shout out to all of you because, man, it brought me right back there. My dog ended up needing surgery while he was gone unexpectedly. I just felt like I can't do this. So you are all rocking your roles, and I had a lot of empathy. Let's see. Finally have court on Monday, Renee says. Canceled March, May, July. It's finally happening. Yay. I'm assuming it's happening Zoom. Are any of the courts doing in-person stuff? Yeah, woohoo for single parents. You guys are rock stars. I remember it all too well. Welcome to Coffee with Tina. Good morning, Mick. Every Saturday morning, we come together. If you have questions, you can email them to coffeedatewithtina@gmail.com, or a really easy way, keep an eye on our Instagram stories and send a question. My trusty social media helper person, Laska, I love her. She just posted a question this week and collected a bunch of questions you guys had. So we're going to answer some of those. I usually pull 5 or 6 every single week. If there's a lot of background, I can't use them. So keep them as simple and generic as possible. And it'll increase your chances of me being able to answer. Fine print, I cannot give legal advice. I'm not qualified to do that. I'm not an attorney. So always consult with your attorney. They're your voice, they're your advocate. I am merely sharing my journey through the family court system. Zoom court only in Houston. Mine is doing in person. Wow. Interesting. Not yet in Merritt. Some are in person. California, we're still on Zoom. So I kind of like it though. Kind of like being able to, I don't know, I put myself back in your shoes, and if it were my case and I was able to do it from home without having to breathe the same air as my ex-husband, I think I would really welcome that opportunity, but there are some downsides to it. For example, I know when my ex-husband is in court, he doesn't present very well. It would be hard to pick up on his nervous habits when he's lying. Um, I know my judge and a lot of judges, he was an expert trained in reading body language. And so I think you lose so much of that. And all somebody has to do is, oh, sorry, I'm having a bad connection. I have to go. If they get caught in a lie, I can just imagine the opportunities and the loopholes this would open for narcissists. So there's some good and bad when it comes to um, the online court stuff. Yeah, I agree. Zoom is nice. We don't have to be just to not, I don't know. I'm like, I don't want to breathe the same air as him. COVID, no COVID. I just don't want to breathe the same air. So anyway, let's jump into our questions. My ex leaves our son with his sister and does not exercise his parenting time, yet he wants more. How common is that? It's literally one of the spokes that I have on the post-separation abuse wheel, and that is discarding. When it comes to the narcissist, discarding is not just for us. So many of these people fight for custody mainly, to hurt us and mainly for child support purposes. But if you scrub it down, parenting is selfless. They aren't capable of really pulling this off for the long haul, for the marathon. And so they'll fight for the kids just to keep them from us. And then they'll discard them with other people, with the new feed supply, with friends or family members. And so for me, if I were facing that exact same situation, I would probably hire a PI. I didn't use an attorney, so any extra money that I had went towards a PI. And I kind of had my PI where my bill was just accumulating. He knew I was a single mom. He was really kind to me in that way. After we developed a relationship, to where I would tell him, John, his name's John Glau. I would tell him, John, it stresses me out to know how much I owe you. And I promise you that I'm good for it. So I'm just going to send you checks every month. I don't want to know my balance. Just tell me when I've paid it off. And that was kind of our agreement at one point. And so for me, I would be documenting it, but like with so many things, how do you actually prove it? So for me, I'd probably have him followed a couple of times just so it was more than my word against his. And then I would be able to show my documentation plus a neutral third party who is respected by the court. And then, in my ex-husband, it wasn't necessarily discarding my kids. Sometimes it was, but similar scenario where he's fighting for more time, yet he's not fully exercising the time that's already been given to him. And so that was very much my presentation to the court is, why are we here talking about this? He's not even exercising the minimal time he has. That was at one point in our custody battle towards the end. Why are we even talking about adding more time when he's not exercising the time he has? And then showing a calendar. I liked to stand out in the eyes of the judge. I liked to dumb it down for him significantly because they just get buried in declarations, and I can't imagine doing that job. And so I would create a 12-month calendar, color coded, so it was really, as an exhibit, so it was really easy for the judge to read. It kind of perked him up a little bit because it was not normally what came across his desk. And instead of having to go through line by line of my declaration, he was just able to look at the calendar and, go, all of the pink dates were when he was supposed to have parenting time. The yellow dates was when he canceled or when he left the kids somewhere else. So those types of things, that's why I say document everything, because you never know when it's going to come up. The narcissist is so unpredictable. And I know in my case, it wasn't my ex-husband driving the bus, it was his mom. And so I could predict his court filings would be usually around July, August, because she lived in Saudi Arabia all year and would come home for the summers. And so she would come home and get him all riled up or create the court files or the court declarations herself. It always had her handwriting on it. I knew where it was coming from. So, it is unpredictable, but then you can find patterns like that to kind of give you a heads up to where this could be in the pipeline right now and I need to be prepared. So documentation is critical. And so, yeah, that's something that I would really be tracking, especially if he's asking for more time. Next question. Do all narcissists cheat or have addiction issues? I can't answer that. I'm not qualified to answer that, but from what I see, very high percentage. And my personal opinion of why, there is so much chaos going on in their mind, so much shame. So, these are really broken humans, and taking it down to a foundational level, something happened to them in early childhood that, rewired them. And it's very much trauma related. So, I think that when you're operating in a constant state of chaos from all of those issues, addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, work, porn, exercise, it keeps them from having to fight or to focus on what their issues are. That all-consuming shame that they feel and insecurities. I've said my ex-husband is the most confident, insecure person I've ever met. And now it makes complete sense. But that was originally said about him by his brother back when we were dating. And it was the most accurate way to describe him that I've ever heard. And so I know my ex-husband, alcohol was his problem. Spending, he had a major spending addiction to the point where I found out we were in debt $1.6 million. That number is still mind-blowing to me. I can't wrap my mind around that type of money. And so, that was his, his cheating was financial. But yeah, and especially if they have issues related to sexual abuse, we see a lot of porn addictions, we see the cheating, but yeah, I think it's a way for them to completely escape. 1.6 million, not 6 million, but still 1.6 million. Once you get over $1 million, it's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Yeah, our entire world collapsed. The world that I call it my fake fancy life. It wasn't real. I thought it was real. It wasn't real. So it was very much my fake fancy life, and it was an interesting journey. But I kind of have the rags to riches, fake fancy riches, and then back to ground zero again, and rebuilt my life from complete devastation, bankruptcy. My bankruptcy just came off last year after 10 years. So I've worked really hard to rebuild my life. But yeah, I do. I think addiction issues keep them from having to focus on their own issues and their own problems. So, very, very common. Is the YouTube live going to stay so we can watch it later? Yes. These go up every week. They're up forever. So they're always available. What advice would you give the current wife of your ex-narcissist, ex-husband narcissist? None. Absolutely none. Um, I am not a fan of getting involved with his new feed supply. Unfortunately, I've done that. Usually they contact me. He tells them about my blog and they reach out. While they're still together, I would never recommend doing that because it never turns out well. I've had the vantage point of looking at so many other cases over the years. And it's especially for those of us who are, very kind and caring and considerate, and it's like knowing that a car wreck's about to happen and you want to jump in and do whatever you can to make it stop. But it never goes well. Opposing counsel then sees this as an opportunity to show you as unstable, to show you as the bitter, jilted ex, and that you're jealous of this new relationship and you're trying to sabotage it. So if I had to go back and relive a situation like that again, mum's the word. It's, everybody is on their own journey and their own path. And I put myself back at the beginning of my relationship. There were red flags. And I think even if somebody had come to me and tried to tell me about them, especially one of his exes, I wouldn't have listened. So, stay in your own lane would be my advice. I personally wouldn't go down that path. It doesn't usually end well. If they have a child together and then they completely break up and they're really, really done, would I step in and help if she asked me? Yes, but I would not offer that help unless the person came to me and I really trusted that it was over. I've had a situation with my ex-husband's new feed supplies where they've come to me, one recently up in Canada, and she wanted, her whole family came out and wanted my help. And I spent quite a bit of time on the phone talking to her, giving her proof, documents of what I was saying was true, declarations from his ex-girlfriend, an assault that he committed in a hotel room against a woman. She went back to him. It blows my mind. So I don't know. I'm kind of gun shy about getting involved with my ex-husband's exes. But if you have personal experience with this, share it in the comments because, I always say I will never claim to have all of the answers. I can only share my perspective and what I see. Let's see, what's the next one? How do you stop a narcissist from interfering with medical doctors, diagnoses, and dictating? Boy, first of all, they're smarter than doctors. They're smarter than researchers. They know it all. I know I had these issues with my ex-husband a lot. And especially if you have a child who has ongoing medical issues or special needs, it's an absolute nightmare to have to navigate. It's just heartbreaking to me. And how do you stop them? I don't know that anyone can stop a narcissist outside of a court order. So if I were facing the same situation, I would be documenting on an ongoing basis what the issue was and how he was interfering. And then I would ask for final say when sole legal custody is so hard to get. I did finally end up getting it after a few years, but at a minimum, getting final say. But in those situations, I still presented myself, even when I had sole legal custody, as the best co-parent they had ever seen. Even though I could just make decisions without involving him, I still reached out. I still included him in decisions. And, I chose my battles wisely. I didn't pull rank unless I really felt it was necessary because I didn't want the court to ever take that away. And I see them do that to people a lot. So, my personal, in a situation like that, I would be getting everything in writing from the doctor, any recommendations, and I would just tell them it's going to save all of us a lot of pain and heartache, if we can just keep everything on the up and up in writing, CCing both parents if there's communication so that we're all on the same page. And then I would go to court once I had built up my documentation and show the court that this is a person who is trying to override medical professionals and their advice and opinions. And unfortunately, that's where you come in and a lot of times have to get second opinions, third opinions. I'm always a fan, if you have to bring in a specialist to send, do your research, find 3 specialists that you would be okay with. Send them over to him. Say, these are 3 people who have come highly recommended. I don't know any of them, and you're welcome to make the final decision. And that gives them the power and control that they need. But it allows you to cherry pick the ones that are best for your child. So, but again, if you have experience with this and have other advice, please feel free to put it in the comments. How do I protect against parental alienation? I actually do a whole online course on this. It is one that's actually available for instant download. If you're interested, you can go to the One Mom's Battle website. It's just onemomsbattle.com. Click education and then online courses. So it's literally, I can give you a couple of tips here, but it's literally an hour-long course. So obviously we can't cover it all. But going back to what I was saying on the previous question, I always presented myself to be the best co-parent. In my mind, I was operating from my place of authentic truth. I truly would be a really great co-parent to another healthy person. And so a lot of people will say, I'm not going to pretend that I like this guy. Well, you can take that position. But if, I always try to see things through the lens of a judge or a family court professional. And if I can read your communication with the other person and pick up on the slightest hint that you don't like this person, it's time to go back to the drawing board. Because my goal was to show myself to be who I truly am, an amazing co-parent, and to allow over time the narcissist to, drop the mask or set the mask down on the desk and walk completely away from it. Over time, they slip up. They make mistakes. It's inevitable because they're operating from 5K race mentality and it's a marathon. So, continue to show yourself to be the best co-parent. I sent monthly updates of everything that was going on in my daughter's life. My book, The Narc Decoder, actually gives pretty much the template that I used. And it was, the initial email to him was, "Hey, Seth," and we used our family wizard. In an effort to co-parent in a healthy way, in order to streamline communication, I'm going to be sending a monthly update with everything that's going on in the girls' lives. And then I had it broken down: academics, health, therapy, extracurricular activities. I always put financials at the very, very bottom, because it was just, there's strategy involved in it, but and I kept those categories the same every single week. And then I would put updates, just very brief, 1 to 2 sentences, friendly. Not gray rock. I don't believe in gray rock. I used to promote gray rock, but I find that it really makes us come across as rigid and cold and uncompromising, all of the things the courts do not want to see. So I really hit it out of the ballpark with my communication and my co-parenting presentation in general. And, that is what I try to get across to people is the court doesn't care if this person is an absolute a-hole. All they care about is, they're frustrated by both of you. And until you can separate yourself and show them over time that you're not part of the conflict, unfortunately, we all get lumped into that high conflict category. And it's frustrating. It's not fair. It's not just, but it is our reality. And I tell people all the time, you can stay stuck. I see people who are stuck in anger, who are stuck in just, it's not fair mentality. And that's like quicksand. It keeps you from healing. It keeps you from moving forward. Radical acceptance, grieving the issue, the situation, the relationship, so that you can move forward and rock your co-parenting role. This is about strategy. And when we are guided by anger, guided by emotions, it comes out. It becomes part of our presentation in the court system, and it doesn't end well. So be really careful with that. But like with anything, run it past your attorney. If you are switching up your strategy, if you are, going to start, sending monthly email updates, make sure you run it past your attorney first. Again, they're your voice, they're your advocate. And, I can only share what worked for me. And I feel like it worked really well for me. And I got to operate from my place of truth. So it wasn't, I've had people tell me, that feels manipulative. It's not manipulative. Unless that's not who you are, then by all means, don't showcase yourself to be a great co-parent. But for me, I know I am. I can't control what's on the other side of that equation, but I can operate from a place that allows me to put my head down on the pillow every night and feel really good about how I handle things. So, stuck, such a trigger word for me. I was accused of being stuck for not forgiving him. You can't heal, get unstuck if still being abused and held down. Absolutely. I was on a call with a bunch of therapists last night, and amazing humans. I am just so grateful to be included in their group. And some of them are narcissistic abuse coaches as well. And, when we're talking about healing and moving forward and radical acceptance and all of that, it kind of triggered me a little bit. And I said, I remember I can always put myself back in, 10 years ago and how I was feeling. And, I just wrote an e-newsletter about the F word, forgiveness. How do we forgive someone who is constantly abusing us? It's not like the abuse is over, they've asked for forgiveness, and then we move forward. You're now being abused, plus your children are being weaponized just to hurt you. So how do you move forward? How do you get unstuck? It's, for me, I can't speak for anybody else. For me, a lot of it was learning to compartmentalize this battle so that it didn't consume my every waking moment. So I had 2 days a week, and it changes. You have to be fluid with it depending on what's going on. Um, it's, for me, it was okay on Mondays and Thursdays, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. After I drop my kids off at school, I'm going to focus on my case. But then when a thought would come through my head any other day of the week, I would redirect it and say, today is not my day to focus on this issue. I'll write it on my calendar and I'll tackle it on Thursday, but today's a beautiful day and I'm going to enjoy it and not give him that power that he wants. And because when I give him that power, it shows. It shows in my presentation, it shows in my communication, it shows to the court. So I'm letting him win in a lot of ways. And so for me, it was learning to compartmentalize it so that, and I sent my ex an email early on and I just said, hey, I'm going to be checking our family wizard every Monday and Thursday morning at 8 a.m., that type of thing. And what he hears, what the court hears in that, or what they heard was, I'm dedicated to this. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do this 2 days a week. And it depends on the age of your kids. For me at that point, it was appropriate for me. If you have really young kids, you might have to communicate 3 days a week, whatever it is for you. For me, that was it. And, but what my ex hears when I say that is I'm putting you in a really little box because you're not going to hold space in my head anymore. And you're limited to Mondays and Thursdays. And that will spin them behind the scenes. That's okay. If that gets the mask to drop, perfect. I'm staying in my lane and enjoying life. So, and a lot of people ask me, how in the hell did you survive this battle? And there were the days where I didn't know that I would. But I do think that learning to put it in a box up on the shelf and still be in the moment and enjoy my kids, and enjoy life and all of those things, helped tremendously. So, let's see. Mine goes sometimes weeks, months without checking OFW. That's beautiful. In my opinion, when you're able to go into court and show the log that, this person says he wants to be a parent, and says he, wants to be on deck for co-parenting responsibilities and decisions. But how do I co-parent with a person who only checks in 4 times a year? And that's where, those are the situations where I would be moving towards documenting for final decision making, sole legal custody. And it takes a long time. The courts give these people so much grace because they're so overburdened by deadbeat parents that they want people to succeed. And they allow for a certain time period, the grace period of conflict in these cases, because they know the relationship just ended. Divorce is a really life stressor. And so they give grace for a certain period of time. You go past that 2-year mark and they're going, who's the problem here? Why are these people still here? Why are they still having conflict? We're 2 years out. There's a problem. So Um, Anyway, all right, everybody. Happy Saturday. I have a bunch of things on my agenda today, and I hope you all take some time to practice self care today. It is so important, especially with everything going on in our world, to keep ourselves centered. You know, meditate 5 minutes, set a timer, sit on your bathroom floor if you need to do it, and lock the door. And yeah, I encourage you to just take a little bit of time for yourself today, especially after this, because it can be such a triggering topic. Um, and you need to keep yourself strong and your oxygen mask on so you can show up and be the best parent you can be for your kids. So take care, everyone.